Yeah. No, the fact that the other day we would read something about this or hear something about it because it was a narrative which was being spread very deliberately as a matter of policy. And when you hear something, now obviously, what is the growth rate of Hindu population or Muslim population in your normal day-to-day life for a common man? It is improbable that you will know it. So you will know it only because it has been fed into your mind by repeated assertion. Now the second myth was that this Muslim rate of growth is disturbing the demographic proportions. Now this is to a certain extent is true in the sense that at the time of after partition in 1951, the first census after independence, the Hindu proportion of population was 84%, and whereas Muslims were 9.8%. Now, this has disturbed a little because from 84 Hindus have come down to 79.8, and this has got distributed among the Christians, the Jains, the Buddhists, and everybody else, and mainly the Muslims. And the Muslim population rate proportion has gone up from 9.8 to 14.2. But after that, actually, this proportion change has stopped because Muslims for the last 20 years or so, or 25, 30 years, have been adopting family planning faster than the Hindus, at a faster rate. I told you earlier that the gap was never more than one child. Now it has come down to less than half a child. It has come to 0.48. Less than 0.5, it has become 0.48. The gap is narrowing because Muslims are adopting family planning faster than the Hindus. Third myth which was there, which I also started believing, that there is an organized attempt by the Muslims to increase their population with the intention of capturing political power. Now that was wrong. That has turned out to be wrong because I asked, requested a friend of mine who was vice chancellor of Delhi University, Professor Dinesh Singh, who was a great mathematician. I gave him my data and I said, Professor, just tell me in how many years Muslims will surpass the Hindu population. And he made a mathematical model for me, which is published here in the book. And he says, forget about it. It can never happen. Not in 60 years, not in 600 years, never. Because the base of Muslims is so much small and so Hindus are so much larger. And to give you another fact which will come to you as a surprise, at the time of independence in 51 census, the number of Hindus was 30 crore more than that of the Muslims. Now, despite the higher birth rate of Muslims, now the gap is, which what used to be 30 crores is now 80 crores. And in the coming years, it will only increase. Yes. So, now finally, if I can finish the 4 or 5 myths which I am dealing with, that polygamy was responsible for it. Every Muslim used to have or had, that is the impression which is being created, 4 wives and 20 children or 40 children. You must have heard a very top leader of the country saying, "Hum पांच हमारे 25."
Yes.
Meaning that I and my wife make 5 and then together we have 20 children. Or hum चार हमारे 40. This is a slogan we have heard, you have heard from different quarters almost all the time. Now, this also is a total myth because 3-4 levels. This is a myth. Number one, the actual number of polygamists among the Muslims is the least. In fact, there was one survey of Government of India in 1975, according to which every community in India has some polygamy, including the Hindus. In fact, the tribals, which is never the Muslim, 15%, then Buddhists, Jains, the Christians, Hindus 5.8, Muslims 5.7. The least polygamists were the Muslims. Now, second myth is that Islam propagates or promotes family planning. The polygamy. Yes, you want to say something, Ria?
Yes, sir.
uh, as far as polygamy is concerned, we have like it is in our constitution that we have different personal laws for every religion. Muslim personal law allows them to enter into a polygamous relationship, whereas it is banned in Hinduism. So how come Hindus tend to be more polygamous than Muslims according to the data
Yeah.
cited by you?
Now, well, Hindus and all other communities were banned from polygamy in 1955, right? And this data which I'm talking about, which is the Government of India survey, is 1975, good 20 years after the act. Now, that, in fact,
So
what you have raised a very important question, that despite the ban on the law, the polygamy among the Hindus is even higher than the Muslims. Now, that's a matter of concern. Now, but the point which I'm trying to make here is that while polygamy is allowed, constitutionally allowed by Indian constitution, the Muslims are the least polygamous. Now, if I am not polygamous, why am I ready to die for it? If there is a demand for a ban on polygamy, I think Muslims should accept it, because if you are not actually practicing it, then why fight for it? Right?
true.
So now the Muslims also was that Islam permits, and every Maulana will tell you that this is a permission which is conditional. And what is the condition? That you can marry more than one, but provided you can treat them equally. I say that actually there is not one but two conditions, because you have to see the context. There is only one verse in the Quran which says you can marry two, three, or four. Now, the context is that Allah is talking about the orphans and the widows. And he's saying that treat them fairly, treat them with justice, do not misappropriate their property, do not replace, substitute their good thing with your bad thing. And best way to do justice is to marry from among them two, three, or four. Now, from among them, from among whom? The orphans, the widows. Now, the same clerics and Maulanas who say that there is one permission of equality, forget the other condition, which to my mind is a bigger condition. Okay, from among them, the verse says, from among the orphans, you can marry two, three, four. Now, the equality concept is important here, that it doesn't mean that you bring in an orphan as a wife and put her in the kitchen as a domestic servant. And the wife is the queen and she is the domestic. Idea is then treat her equally. Both are equal wives. That is the concept. So this is one myth among the Muslims which also needs to be broken. And finally, before I take your other question, that even the Muslims suffer from a myth. They feel that Islam is against family planning. And non-Muslims definitely believe that, but even Muslims believe that, and even I believe that, frankly. And when I study the Quran and Hadith for myself, I found that Islam is not against family planning. In fact, Islam is the pioneer of the concept of family planning. We may not be following it, but Islam as a religion is a pioneer, because 1400 years ago, in the Quran, there is a verse of the young people, you should marry when you have the wherewithal to bring up a family. Now, one poor man went to the Prophet and he said that the Quran says that I should marry when I have. But well, I'm a poor man. I don't have the wherewithal, but I have sexual needs. What should I do? So Prophet then explained to me that you should marry, because marriage keeps you away from looking at other women with lust. And when you have the means, you should marry, and till you are in a position to support a family, resort to fasting, because fasting suppresses sexual desire. So there is an injunction of the Quran, then there is an explanation of the Prophet. To me, together they are a proclamation of family planning. And I'll finish on this. There is another hadith. Hadith is whatever Prophet said or was reported to have done as seen by others. So somebody went to the Prophet and he said, I have many children and I'm tired of them. And I want to practice family planning by following azl, which is coitus interruptus, which is withdrawal method. So, and he says, although I want to do that because I don't want any more children, but a Jew is saying that that is a minor infanticide. So, the Prophet said, no, the Jew is lying, which means it is not an infanticide. If you want to go ahead, go ahead. So, even the method is approved. Now, we have newer methods, we follow all of them. So, together, I have come to the conclusion that Islam was much ahead of its time, 1400 years ago, when there was no population pressure anywhere in the world. Islam talked of keeping the family small, the right upbringing, right to education, the proper upbringing of the child. All these things were very progressive
Yes, sir.
concepts.